Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today is the eve, or rather the day of the finale of Game of Thrones, the final episode of Game of Thrones, and many fans are left asking themselves, okay, I've dedicated all of these years, 8 years of my life to this series, and this season just feels like a total letdown. And it's not because characters aren't going the way that we want, it's not because our expectations are necessarily being subverted in a good way, it's because they are literally trying to surprise people, make things and choose things that people don't see coming so that they can surprise people. Basically, we're living in an internet age where all of a sudden creators decide, I want to try and make sure that no one sees what is actually going to happen coming, so that way they'll be surprised by it. The problem is that what they're doing is they're surprising us at the sake and for the sake of, or rather in spite of, the actual story, meaning that they're leaving all the story, all the character development, all the stuff that's been building up for years and years in the dust just so that they can get that shock value. Shock value can be a good thing. Red Wedding is a great example of that. I mean, people who didn't read the books didn't see that coming, but it all fit within the framework of the story. It all fit within the framework of those characters that had, caused those events, and also the events that followed all made sense. Again, it was something that fit the story and benefited the story. Everything that's happened this season really hasn't done that. Everything that happened this season has basically been, we're going to subvert your expectations, we're going to do things that you did not see coming, we're going to give you certain things that you kind of want, but we're not going to give it to you in the way that you want, and then we're just going to leave you wanting. Now, this might be okay for a mid-season, or it might be okay for, season 5 or season 6, as long as there's a conclusion at the very end. The problem is that this is the end. This is the finality. This is the final episode of the entire series. There's not going to be any more episodes of Game of Thrones. We're going to get more books. Theoretically, we're going to get more books from George R.R. Martin, which I'm sure are going to be much better, significantly better than what we are currently getting with this series as far as the story is concerned. However, as far as the series go, this is it. And I know that as someone who's been with this show from the very beginning, I remember seeing the previews for this back in 2011 and thinking to myself, holy crap, this show looks awesome. It looks like it looks like Lord of the Rings, but a little bit more mature, and it looks great. And I remember seeing the first couple episodes in the first season, and it was just fantastic. It was so exciting, waiting from week to week, from Sunday to Sunday, thinking, oh man, this is the driving force of, this is the driving point, this is the driving factor that gets me going throughout the week, is I cannot wait for this next episode of Game of Thrones. And now it's gotten to the point where it's like, okay, I just kind of want this to end, and I kind of want to see where the train wreck goes. It's like I'm still watching just to see what in the hell they actually do, because if some of the spoilers, because as you guys know, there's spoilers everywhere on Reddit, some of the spoilers, which have been true so far, are true about this final episode. I mean, if you thought people were mad before, people are going to be even more mad, because now they're not going to be able to have that, oh, well, there's one more episode. Oh, well, there's another episode. Oh, they still have time, because time's up. They have no more time. This is it. And the frustration is really boiling over by the very fact that, again, according to Deadline, many other sources here, there is indeed a petition that's been signed where now it's reached over 1 million people have signed on to a petition demanding Game of Thrones be remade for season 8. Now, let's just be honest for a second. Are they going to do it? No, it doesn't matter. Even if there were 5 billion people saying remake this series, they still wouldn't do it. And the reason why is because they want to move on. They have obviously rushed this season. They are obviously trying to push for the prequels. That is something that, again, I'm getting from certain sources, and I can't say anything else more about it until I get more details officially, but I can say this much, is that behind the scenes, the mindset is they wanted to try and get through this as fast as possible. They wanted to try and, basically just say, all right, let's get it over with. We don't care if certain character arcs don't wrap up. We don't care about any of these things. We just want to get things over with so that way we can sell everyone on our prequels. Here's the thing. Don't buy into the prequels. If this is what they're going to give you after 8 years of dedicating time, why would you trust them again? Why would you trust HBO again? Because this isn't just Benioff and Weiss. Obviously, Benioff and Weiss are the creative minds behind it. But this was also an HBO decision. HBO knew what they were doing. They knew the story. They knew the direction that they were going in. They knew that there were only 6 episodes. Yes, HBO offered them to have more episodes, but at the same time, they knew exactly what they were trying to do. And HBO, whether you love it or hate it, had more control, had more power than Benioff and Weiss did to say, we want you to do this, we need you to do this, and this is how it's going to happen. But instead, they said, nope, Benioff and Weiss, go ahead and do your own thing. We're not going to stop you. And look what we've gotten now. We've gotten to the point where over 1 million people have signed a petition, which really, in all honesty, means nothing because, again, the petition's not going to do anything. But I think it is still important to understand that there are a lot of people now. This is not just a small vocal minority like we heard all the time when Star Wars happened. This is a very clear indication that not just Game of Thrones fans, not just diehard fans, but also the Normie Crowd. Those people who kind of, jumped onto this series towards the end, started to catch up, just recently, over the past couple of years, jumped into Game of Thrones and got a part of the hype. Even they are starting to say, oh, right, I just binge-watched hours upon hours of content, and this is the ending that I get? This is the conclusion that I get? These are the arcs that remain broken? These are the arcs that continue to make no sense? It really is frustrating, and it's infuriating because, in all honesty, this is something that could have ended so much better. And as I said before, this is not just a bunch of fans saying, oh, this isn't the way that I wanted it to end. We just wanted it to end and have it make sense. We just wanted to have a logical season. And the fact that they're giving you an hour and a half and they're still not being able to develop your character arcs, they're still not being able to make good choices, I'm sorry, but it's ridiculous. You know, you've been building for years for two big bads, the Night King and Cersei Lannister. And both of them just get snuffed out. And again, it's all about, oh, well, subversion expectations. You thought it was going to happen this way, but it didn't. Here's the problem, though. Now, anytime anyone goes back to the beginning of the series and says, oh, maybe I want to rewatch it again, as soon as they see people like Cersei Lannister, as soon as they see the first episode where the Children of the Forest and the White Walkers and all those things are introduced, they're going to say, oh, none of this matters because the Night King's just going to be killed in one episode. All right, yeah, none of this matters. Cersei Lannister, she's not that big a bad. She's going to be killed by a collapsing building. Okay, fine. I mean, I'm sorry, but like, seriously, they destroy their own series. Not just destroying the ending of the series, they destroy the entire series because now no character arcs matter. None of the characters matter, and it's sad. It really is sad because these actors are giving it their all. Seriously, there are some Emmy award-winning, Emmy-nominated performances in this series. There are some great acting going on. There's fantastic acting going on, and there's some really good scenes too. But that's mostly to do with the actors, because the actors are great, and I feel very bad. I feel so sorry for the actors involved in this because they are getting screwed over here. They are getting screwed over with bad storytelling. They are getting screwed over with having a series and having showrunners that care more about their next project and more about finishing the project, not more about getting on and moving on to the next projects, and more about trying to subvert expectations without explanation and piss people off and make people surprised and make people talk about it so that way more people watch it than they do actually about the legacy of this series, because the legacy of this series is going to be so negative. People are not going to go back from this a year from now and say, oh man, well, you know, it really wasn't all that bad. They're going to look back at it and say, man, Game of Thrones fell off a cliff. Man, don't pull a Game of Thrones. Don't go that way. Because we can talk about other series and how they ended, but none have been as big as this. This has been the biggest television show, the biggest television event, I would say, in modern day history. And yet they have screwed it up royally in only 6 episodes. 8 years of development, and they screwed up in 6 episodes, in about 6 to 8 hours of work. That is ludicrous and ridiculous. And even though this petition's not going to do anything, even though this petition is just a bunch of people letting off steam, I think that HBO, Benioff and Weiss need to listen to this and realize we're not going to take this crap. If you think that you're going to be able to sell us on a prequel series, I'm sorry, but unless you're able to prove without a shadow of a doubt that you're going to take it seriously and they're not going to waste our time, which is going to be very hard, saying that it took you 8 years to show us that you just don't care, then why would we invest our time in a prequel series? Why would we invest our time in another story with new characters when we don't know if those characters and their arcs and the passion that those actors put into it are even going to be worth caring about? Because at this point, I'm like, okay, these aren't the characters that I've developed with. These aren't the characters that I've grown up with over the past 8 years. People can say all you want about, oh, just you're crying, it's over a series, and oh, you're crying. That's what fandom is. Fandom is fun. Fandom is supposed to be fun. This really isn't all that fun. It's fun to make fun of the nonsense, but then when you really step back, you're like, God, this is such a great series, though. And they've just totally destroyed it. But anyway, guys, what are y'all's thoughts? Do you think that Game of Thrones is going to have a good ending tonight? Please do not put any spoilers from the Reddit. You can find those things for yourself in the Free Folk subreddit over on Reddit, and they have all the information. They have all of the leaks and all of the potential spoilers and potential endings. It looks like there could be 2 potential endings. There are a couple things, though, that seem to be very clear, and based on the story, it seems to make sense. At least, you know, it's supposed to make sense. For all I know, though, they could be like, oops, subversion of expectations. You didn't see that one coming, did you? And honestly, at this point in time, I think that we could see someone sitting on the Iron Throne that no one would ever predict happening, and also just doesn't make any logical sense, especially if it's the person that I think it's going to be. So just try and keep avoid of those spoilers, but also if you don't want to know any about those spoilers, I would just stay away from the comment section in general, because people will like to spoil things. But I would love to hear your thoughts. Do you think that Game of Thrones is going to end well? Do you think that a year from now, people are going to look back at Game of Thrones and say, oh, it wasn't that bad? Or do you think that they are finally going to, Benioff and Weiss when they take over for Star Wars, or HBO when they choose their next showrunners for their prequel series, or even George R.R. Martin, do you think that these people are actually going to hear the voices of the people? Because I think that's a very fair question. Obviously, people are going to say, well, why don't you just boycott the last episode? Well, again, I've just laid it out there. This has been 8 years that I've dedicated to this. I've always watched it, especially, you know, me and my wife, we've made it now a Sunday ritual anytime that Game of Thrones is there. And last week, it was so funny because only not long into the episode, all of a sudden it became she saying, yeah, I can't defend this anymore. So we're going to watch it because we've dedicated this much time to it, and we're going to finish it. But good Lord, we are not looking forward to the end, because it could literally be anything at this point, and it just looks like none of the character arcs matter. None of it means a damn thing. And that's just freaking sad because you've got, again, great actors, great characters, and a great overarching story crafted by George R.R. Martin that's just been crapped all over. And I really hope his books do well, and I really hope his books are able to fix this mess, because that's the only way that this mess is going to be fixed, is in the books. And unfortunately, the series is not going to be touched, at least for a while, because the prequels are what's next. So again, let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comments below. Also, if you like this video, smash the like button, give me a thumbs up, give me a subscribe. Seriously, you're all amazing and beautiful people. Once again, YouTube sucks, and I'm going to keep on saying it because YouTube does continue to suck because they don't give out notifications, they unsub people all the time, and I really do think that it's something that needs to be taken care of. So please, share, like if you can, do whatever it is that you can to support, because I would really appreciate it. Again, I appreciate every single person that watches, that likes, that leaves a comment. Even if you don't like the stuff, again, I appreciate you just interacting with it. But I think it's just wrong that YouTube is just going to play around with its algorithm every 5 seconds. So that way, when people start to adapt to that algorithm and then change it, now all of a sudden they're having to change their content. They're starting to have to do things that they don't want to do. They're starting to have to do video after video after video, talking about the same thing over and over and over again. And again, I'm not going to go after those channels that do that, because at the end of the day, there are channels that want to grow. Obviously, I want to grow, but it's obviously not as necessary for me, because this is something that I do for fun. But for other channels where this is their job, I mean, YouTube is literally playing with their livelihood by goofing off with this. So just needed to get that out there, because YouTube seriously needs to change where it's going. I'm starting to hear rumors that there's other places that might start getting into the YouTube streaming game, like to actually post videos and such. Really hope it's the case, because it could be a very, very major player. Can't say anything about it because it's not been confirmed, and obviously I cannot really say much about it. But still, very exciting news nonetheless. Guys, thank you all so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.